listeners. Always excited to be here and talk about Chattanooga and the arts. So I hope you're going to tune in and listen today, because we're going to talk about some different things than we've done before. It might be a little controversial, actually, because it's called the most controversial art of the last 2 decades. And this is concerning worldwide. So I hope you're tuned in today, and feel free to call in. This is Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 1240 AM. We're broadcasting live on those frequencies. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can also tune in and see, if you want to, what goes on in a radio station. And you can also call as we go through these controversial pieces, which I will say, the station isn't saying we support this. This is just reporting what's going on in the world, what's going on in the art world. The last 2 decades, these are listed as the most controversial things. So the opinion here isn't that these are being supported, or, my personal opinion may come into it, but that's not a reflection on this station. It's a reflection on probably my emotional reaction or artistic reaction to some of these arts. And I guess it's going to get a little bit more dicey than normal, because it's pretty interesting what's going on out there. So you can call in at 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949. And my name is Jillian Collins, and every week I bring you the Art Beat of Chattanooga, and you're encouraged to participate. If you have arts that you're involved in, if you have fundraisers concerning artists and volunteerism going on with art into the community, children, seniors, anything that's art reaching into the community and reflecting how art and society go hand in hand, how important it is to continue producing the arts and encouraging the arts. Chattanooga is, in my opinion, leading the modern renaissance along with the rest of the world in the modern era of contemporary art. And, it is important. So far we found enough to talk about to keep on talking about it. So I'm interested in what you have to say about some of these things we're going to cover. And also remember Nightfall, going down to the Bessie Smith prior to that. And remember all the wonderful things you can do in Chattanooga, even just walking across the walking bridge. Bridge, one of the longest in the world. And it is probably one of the most beautiful views as well. It's just a wonderful city. So go to Nooga.com or the Pulse, whatever, and find out what's going on. I know tonight there's a charity, the May 18th, there's a charity fundraiser, Wayne-A-Rama fundraiser at the Flying Squirrel. There's art exhibitions, Art for Health, featuring Dr. I probably will chop this up, Yaseh Barnwell, The Healing Power in Music. Now there's a wonderful event at the Hunter Museum of Art, which really puts Chattanooga on the map for the arts. The Hunter has done a fantastic job in promoting and supporting the arts in Chattanooga. And, the membership is so affordable. You can go there anytime you want and see all the different exhibits. So, go on downtown. I'm always encouraging that. Take your lady, give her some culture, and maybe take her out for a nice little dinner. There's so many cute cafes and things. And you'll see a lot of local art all over buildings. You'll see artists playing on the corners, different instruments, or doing performance art. Every day and night of the week, there's things going on downtown in Chattanooga. So, it's a great day to go check it out. So, controversial art. My own new series is probably going to be controversial, and I haven't released it yet. I'm finishing up this last painting that I've been working on and off for 3 years on this crazy thing, because it's challenging for me. I think in so many ways, not just technically, but finishing this series and coming to the point that I have my dream connected to. There's a lot of pressure there. So, life gets in the way, and it takes a lot of time and concentration to be able to get to the place to work on some of these things. For some artists like myself, some things I can't just work on every day, like technically, and just do it. I have to have the emotion, the feeling, the drive. I have to feel good about my art that day. Things like this come into play. It's not like you get up go to work at 8 and you're done at 5 and you paint all day. It doesn't work for me. I am very happy for those who it does work for, but and when it's done, we'll see if it's controversial. According to the history here, I don't know if I want to be in that category. So let's just kind of go over some of it. We're going to go backwards. the first thing, and this is supposed to cover 2 decades, and all over the world, so the first one is Emma Sulkowicz. And Emma Sulkowicz was a college student, and she did an endurance performance. She started this in September 14 as a thesis project. And she claims to have been raped on campus. And she requested the person named would be expelled, and that was refused, I think, because there was a he said, she said situation going on. She says that was in 2012, and a fellow student. When he wasn't expelled, she decided to carry a 50-pound mattress as what was labeled performance art everywhere on campus. So this girl started attending her classes and being seen on campus everywhere carrying a 50-pound mattress. Thinking she probably needed a chiropractor after that. And this was in response to, being a female and saying something horrible happened and having no recourse. So emotionally, I think it's a real picture of what she's saying, of a rape, and then how you might respond in an art way. I don't necessarily understand all performance art. I'm definitely a visual artist, and a dancer, I guess, too. And I sing or write poetry, but, mainly I paint. But this is something that was done, and the definition of art is it's a piece that you do to evoke emotion in the viewer, and certainly Emma Sulkowicz, she brought on a lot of response. There was criticism of her on campus. There was issues with all that. But when she graduated in May of 2015, Emma Sulkowicz walked across that graduate stage with her 50-pound mattress at her graduation as her statement, of how she had felt injustice in her situation. And she went on to make a very controversial video portraying some pretty violent things and, saying it was all consensual, but it's quite a controversial thing. So this is one of the things that is listed as one of the most controversial pieces of this decade. And, I'm wondering who thinks, what do you think about that? What does that make you feel? Like, I feel uncomfortable for her. I feel amazed that she could do it. I got a lot of stuff to carry as a student. You've got already enough to carry. If you can also haul around a 50-pound mattress on your shoulder, which is what she did. This is a unique and amazing person. This was long-term. This wasn't something, she did for a day. Clearly, it appears at least she had a very emotional response to something, and she needed to share it. So that's called endurance performance art. And, I feel it's valid, I don't try and judge an artist on who they say if they're an artist or not, or what constitutes art. I have my own opinions about it, of course. But for this girl, I support her as a person, and expressing something that happened to her that she could get no justice on, and making sure that she felt she was justified by bringing this to the public. So, that's Emma Sulkowicz. And, if Emma ever hears this, I think you're amazing. So I don't know what anyone else thinks. Feel free to call in 800-8949-423, 800-8949. This is Jill Collins on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 1240 AM. And we're talking about controversial art, the last 2 decades, what's considered the most controversial. And it's going to get a little dicey. I'll warn you right now. There's not going to be anything shown or graphic, but some of the pieces that are controversial, it's for a very good reason. And this is a little bit heavier show than normal. So, kind of understand this isn't the radio station supporting these things as a positive or negative. This is reporting the actual studies and the things that are done as the most controversial art. And some of it's we're going to even get into modern art and how, like 85% of the artists in our time featured and through history are men. And yet about the same percentage of nudes featured in museums are women. So what does it take to be a respected woman artist, in this world? We're going to talk about that too as we get through this. The next one, and it's wow. Okay. Ryder Ripps. And in 2014, he was invited to do a artist residency night at the New York Ace Hotel. And his project, he's a photographer. His project involved inviting 2 escorts found on Craigslist to join him in his hotel room. And he photographed graphic images, and then he documented it, so to speak. So the RF City writer described the project, and it's called Art Horror, as the most offensive project of 2014. And, you know, for me, I get into this and I say, okay, is this art? I can't decide. I can't judge. Would I ever want to go see it? No. Would it create a feeling in me? Yes. Do I feel it's valid to society? Society is so diverse. There's definitely parts of society who are going to embrace that. You know, I'm thinking, wow, Craigslist, you know, and I have no idea. I didn't look up the work because it's not something I think I really want to see. But that was also one of the most offensive, labeled the most offensive art project in 2014. So if you've ever seen the work of Ryder Rips, I don't know, but apparently it's pretty controversial and very graphic. So, you know, just if you do look him up, be warned, if your kids are sitting there, you might have some pretty graphic images. So, you know, then there is, and I'm going to probably butcher some of these names, Guillermo Vargas. And this one, man, if this doesn't get somebody calling in or being furious, I don't know what would, because I can barely talk about this without like wanting to vomit. Okay, this to me, I'll say right out, in my opinion, this is not art. This is abuse. This is evil. So Guillermo Vargas in 2007 had a piece that he says is a piece called "You Are What You Read." And in the Cody's Gallery in Managua, Nicaragua, this artist bound a stray dog to the wall as an exhibit. And he did not give him food or water during exhibit hours, they say. And he spelled out, "You are what you eat," above the dog in dog biscuits. If that doesn't make you sick to your stomach, I don't know what would. And it was very, a lot of outcry. He bound the dog, you know, right to the wall. It was just there, a stray dog, you know, just, and they're calling that art. And to me, that makes me angry. It makes my breath go quicker and my heart pound because I'm mad. You know, it's like, why would you call that art? Why would you abuse an animal or a person and call that art? That is not art. It's a crime. You know, it's evil and it's inhumane. So, you know, boo, boo, boo to you. And I don't even want to say your name again because I don't think you deserve it. You know, it's in the top 10 because it's disgusting, you know? And, so the gallery defended itself by telling, you know, the dog wasn't chained at night and we fed it at night, you know, but, you know, this was an international outcry, death threats to him. Tom Otterness, you know, another guy, Tom Otterness, he infamously, and this is a difficult video to find, shot a dog and called it art in 1977. And that wasn't so widely publicized, but, you know, there's a level where we have to draw a line, you know, when you're talking abuse and chaining up an animal to be, you know, humiliated. They have feelings. Dogs have feelings. That dog was not happy. And to me, you know, there can be art, doesn't always have to be beautiful in that sense, but in my opinion, it can represent pain without causing pain. You don't have to personally cause pain in order to represent pain, you know? So that's really, you know, right up there. So, and the number third one, and this is real controversial too. And if you're a Catholic, understand I'm not supporting this. I'm reporting the top 10, you know, things that are listed worldwide as the most offensive art of the last 2 decades. So it is a tough subject. And, you know, I'm not saying I support these artists as a whole at all. And I'm not giving an opinion on most of them. So, you know, chaining up a dog and starving it and etc. with dog biscuits above it. You know, I'm not so supportive of that at all. So, and then there's Chris O'Philly, and this one in 1996, he created an image, and this is a worldwide deal. He created an image of the Holy Virgin Mary, and using, and I'm going to say right now, this to preface this, if you have any poo, fling it now. Because this artist created a painting of the Virgin Mary, as it's considered, and it was to be shown in a show called Sensation, a traveling exhibit in the New York City Brooklyn Museum. And the large painting depicts a Black Virgin Mary incorporated with elephant dung, as well as collaged pornographic images. Rudy Giuliani at the time, a stout Catholic, did actually block the exhibition by cutting the museum's funding. He called it sick, and so following that, his request was denied by a federal judge. Okay, so he tried to cut the funding. I apologize. But then the federal judge denied it. And eventually this painting of the Virgin Mary with elephant dung as one of the mediums in it was sold for $4.6 million. So, wow. I don't even know how to respond to that one. I don't have a real reaction there, what do you do with that, But somehow the guy got 4.6 mil out of the deal. So, somebody really liked it. But so that's another one of the most offensive. That's number 3 of the most offensive art of the last 2 decades. Then we move on to Tracy Emin. This one is pretty interesting. She, her piece is called Everyone I Ever Slept With. And the controversial title is a little bit misleading because her piece was actually a tent that she put 120 different names on of everyone she'd ever slept with, in a sensual way or any way, and including her grandmother, who her memories of her were holding her hand and listening to the radio in a very loving time, So this piece, even though the title may throw us into one thought, is actually a really intriguing idea, of who have you ever actually slept with? Sisters, brothers, parents, lovers. Sometimes you get stuck in a hotel room with a coworker and you ended up sleeping in the same bed. I mean, I literally had that happen on one of my trips with one of the companies I was with. It was like, that's awkward, So I find the thought of this piece extremely intriguing, that's a very intimate thing, sleeping. You're vulnerable. You're asleep. So got a call coming in. So let me grab this. Whoops, I got my headphones. Hi, this is Jill. How can I help you out today? Hello? All right, we kind of lost that one. You can call back, caller, if there's an issue. Please call back. So, sorry I couldn't get that to pick up. I heard static. So if you've got something to say, I'd love to hear it. So she erected a tent. Oh, it's 102 names of everyone she'd ever slept with in a sexual or platonic way. And, wow. That's from an intimate standpoint of life, it's pretty thought-provoking. I got another call. Let me grab this. Hi, this is Jill at the Art Beat of Chattanooga.
Good topic.
Thank you.
Pictures on YouTube because I'm not watching.
Yes. No, I'm not showing pictures because of the graphic nature of these. I mean, they're not really graphic, but I don't want to necessarily support each of these artists because I haven't even decided how I feel about some of this work.
I'm just wondering how the artist with the dog got away with it.
Right, and that's the thing. Yeah, death threats.
And you know what? I want to see someone do that to him.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought. Let's try that. Let's chain you up for 8 hours a day and not give you food or water and put some stakes above your head and spell out, human starvation or something. I don't know.
Some people just need the crap kicked out of them, and that's one guy.
Yeah, that to me is sick, and I'm not going to.
And not give them any water for 8 hours. That is so cruel.
It is cruel, and I don't consider it art. I
don't care about the human stuff. We can take care of ourselves, but to do that to a defenseless animal, what a creep.
Yep, exactly.
Somebody should have taken a baseball bat to him.
Yeah.
He's still doing so-called art.
Yeah, and I'm going to research this video of the other artist, which I flipped past the page now, but it said in 1977 to have shot a dog and called it art. And like I said, I am not the judge of art, but when it involves harming a living creature, a cognizant creature, I'm totally against it. I don't call it art. So really appreciate you calling in.
All right.
And thanks for that support about supporting the dogs. Yep. So, thank you for being outraged. Thank you, because I'm outraged too. That one right there, I agree. Let's make the exhibit out of him and see if he thinks it's art then, I'm usually pretty positive on this show, but that one just ticks me off, So, but Tracy, as we were talking about, with the tent and all the names of the people she's ever slept with, that is thought provoking to me. And, in a very intimate human way of what you actually, how that would actually, be like, who have you slept next to? I shared a room and bed with my sisters most of my life. And, those are moments of your sleep, you're vulnerable. So the people that we do end up sharing that time with, it's a very interesting concept, sleep itself. It blows my mind. Like, here we are, we sleep half our life away. We're unconscious. We're dreaming. I don't get it. Like, what is that all about? But without it, we can't function. I get that part. But the concept of it is just amazing to me. Like, why do we have to sleep all this time? I could be doing stuff, but just the same, who doesn't love to lay down in their bed and have that restful time? And that's one of the best parts of the day. So this work of, let's see here, we're at Tracy. Charles, I got my pages mixed up here, I think 3, 4. So so now the next one I think I'm going to save for the second half of the show, because this one is going to involve the aspects of where we're going to enter talking about women in modern art. And this group of women, called the Guerrilla Girls, started a group to protest and elevate the profile of the fact that modern art has very few women featured in our museums, and also other cultures and countries, kind of focuses on Europe and America. So there's many, many other countries and artists who should be supported. And certainly the percentages that I'll share of women versus men artists that are being, put into a museum is alarming. So these ladies literally went around New York City in gorilla masks after their poster was denied being hung in a show, and they bought space on buses and put it up, and they went around the city at night in gorilla masks and hung it up. And they're not necessarily these evil activists. This group's been going on for years now, and now they have current shows and things that are going on, which I'll share. But the second half, I'm going to talk a little bit about being a woman artist myself, the struggle it is to be accepted, even in this day and age, in the community of the arts as a woman. Singers, there's a little more leeway with that, but somehow in the visual arts, it still seems to be kind of male-based, especially when you do the numbers. And there's organizations in the world doing the numbers, kind of fighting for equality in the arts. Certainly as a female, I'm just as talented as any given male. It varies per artist, not per gender. So, that's, today you're kind of getting the side of me that has a little bit of an opinion, a little bit of an attitude. So, we're going to talk about that. And I'd invite you women, artists, to call in with any response you have to that as we come into the next half of the show. So we'll see in a few minutes. We're going to talk some more about the 10 most offensive pieces of art that have been deemed that in the last 2 decades. And like I said, we don't necessarily support this. I'm just reporting what's happening in the world concerning art. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Look forward to being back with you.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TBA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
Is your career taking you where you want to go? If not, talk to Covenant Group Insurance, especially if you like helping people. Call and learn how you can work for yourself, but not by yourself. Intense but free training, plus a fantastic lead program, plus office support equals your success, your prosperity. Gross at least $75,000 your first year selling insurance. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. That's 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you'll make all year.
Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Come see the fastest dirt late model drivers in the South compete for a purse every Saturday night. Pit gates open at 3, grandstand opens at 5. Racing starts at 7. Bring the whole family for a night of fun as they tear it up on the dirt track. Go to BoydSpeedway.net and check out the Dirt Simulator. BoydSpeedway.dirtsimulator.com. Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Fun-filled, outrageous racing. We'll see you Saturday night.
The UCRA Crate Late Model Event. Limited late models, crate late models, sportsman, hobby, and street stocks.
Boyd Speedway.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A man fell off a bluff on the Cumberland Trail at the Pocket Wilderness on Mowbray Mountain, 20 feet below, landing in the sitting up position. A rope team and a helicopter had to be called in to lift him out. He landed at a golf course where an ambulance was waiting to take him away. He's expected to recover. Counterfeit money's been reported in Dunlap. Apparently, fake $20 bills and fake $10 bills have been spread around. Dunlap police trying to find out where it's coming from. The Chattanooga Police Department will be performing compliance checks on different businesses around the area to make sure they card individuals to make sure they're 21 before buying drinks. Chattanooga police say a car traveling southbound on Hale Street lost control and turned over, rolling on its side. It took both the volunteer fire department and the Hamilton County EMS to get the driver out of there and extricated. He was taken to the hospital afterward. The extent of his injuries not yet released. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect very warm and humid weather out there through your afternoon. An isolated shower or storm may pop up, highs upper 80s. Tonight through early Friday morning, a few more isolated showers and storms possible. Lows upper 60s, highs Friday back into the upper 80s. Mainly dry and hot on Saturday, highs near 90. Come to Larry's Restaurant in Trenton for some of the finest home-style cooking around. Larry also offers catering. Larry's open Thursdays through Sundays, just off 559 on Highway 136 West Trenton. And I'm Storm Team 12's Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Cole. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Welcome back. Glad you're here to the Art Beat of Chattanooga, where art lives, where we talk about Chattanooga and the arts in the world here in Chattanooga and beyond. Here we're going to talk today, continue talking about the most controversial art pieces of the last 2 decades. And this is not, as I have shared, that the radio station is supporting these artists. I'm just sharing the news. This is worldwide art news. And, different foundations and agencies follow what's going on in the arts and track it. And that's why this second half, we're going to talk a lot about women in the modern art, in the contemporary art age.
Well, Jill, before you get to that, I do have to break in with some actual news.
All right.
Not just art news.
This is Russell. Go ahead.
So on a sidewalk in New York City Times Square on Thursday today, a car plowed into the crowd. They say it lost control. They say the NYPD says it's an isolated incident. New York City Fire Department confirming 1 person died, 19 people being treated for injuries. A car plowed into people in Times Square. Terrorists have used vehicles in the past, of course. That's why fears are really mounting. But the NYPD not confirming terrorism or not. They say it's an isolated incident with 1 person. 19 people injured, 1 person killed. They say the driver appeared to be intoxicated. So fears somewhat allayed for now, but we'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Russell. And that's very tragic. And, we'll definitely keep them in our prayers and thoughts, and appreciate you bringing that breaking news on, Russell. And, hopefully it's an isolated incident. Either way, somebody lost a loved one today, just a few moments ago. And my heart goes out to all of you and everyone who was injured. And, we only have today, I guess, but these random acts of either violence or, if he was intoxicated, driving in the middle of the afternoon into 20 people in a crowd. And, it's a good reminder, don't drink at lunch, don't drink and drive. And hopefully for our nation's sake, this is an isolated incident, because in this day and age, I know we just never know what's going to go on. It's moment to moment. So we're talking today about, art in the world, art, the 10 most controversial pieces as they've been deemed in the art world. And I do want to stop and remember the death of Chris Cornell as well. I know a lot of us are sad and shaken, and each time one of our artistic icons passes, it affects us. We lose a part of our consciousness in a sense. They're in our heart, but they're no longer here sharing their music and their art. And, I just want to take a moment and say, my heart goes out to all of us for that loss, and especially to his family. We love you guys. We love our musicians, and the fact that they have families they love is wonderful, and we're very sorry for your loss. So a couple sad things, but we're going to press on and talk about what we're here to talk about today, which is, this 10 most controversial pieces of art. And as I looked over things on the break, almost everything in this list revolves around either sexuality or other bodily functions, in a sense. It's like, okay, well, obviously these things are pretty controversial. And as I said, I don't necessarily support, and I certainly don't support the artist they call him, who tied a dog up and gave him no food or water and taunted him, with "you are what you eat" written in dog biscuits over his head. Like the caller said earlier, let's see how he would like that. Would he consider that art if he was tied up to the wall and starved for 8 hours and stared at, and, had maybe some sirloin steaks up there spelling out, I'm an idiot? I don't know. So I try to be nice, but today that just right over the edge. So there's the next one that we're going to deal with is the Gorilla Girls. And in 1989, they created a poster after a study showed that out of 169 contemporary artists displayed in the art world of radicals, the Gorilla Girls. And out of the 169 artists, only 13 of these artists displayed are contemporary artists. And this is a study that goes on worldwide. And this is the American study, So here I am, a female artist. And that lowers my odds big time of ever being considered a serious artist of this time. And, maybe I'm a visionary, maybe I'm crazy, but I know that my dreams are powerful as far as what I want to do and produce with my art. So I want the chance to be just as considered as a male for what I produce and think and, put into society concerning my art. So I pretty much should have a gorilla mask with me. So those of you looking on YouTube or Facebook, seriously, I'm going to join the Gorilla Girls because, this is still a form of, it's a form of denial that women are just as equal as a man, race, gender, none of that matters. We're artists, and we're not all just hippies or something. Artists come from every walk of life, like the chief of police on Signal Mountain, who's an artist, like, the average person who may be a lawyer by day, and at night they're creating artwork and going to art shows on the weekend. we can't put them in a box, just like we can't put women in a box. You know, our art is just as valid as anyone else's. And the movement is to help, you know, elevate the fact that this needs to be looked at. I mean, are they seriously saying the men are that much more talented than women, so they get 169 paintings and the women get 13? You know, what does that statement really mean? So I just, you know, kind of, I'm looking at that thinking, wow, you know, so they were denied. This was going to be entered in a show, and I'm trying to look through my notes and get the name of the show. It was a poster campaign that was presented by the group that did the study and said, this is so unbalanced. And they created this poster of, it's a nude back of a woman, her whole back, and a gorilla head on the woman. And then there's, you know, the percentages are written on there that I represented here. And they were denied having that in the poster contest. It was just denied. So that's, you know, when you hear the other things that we're sharing of the 10 most offensive things, how can this be one of them? I'm looking at this piece, and I'm not showing everything today. You know, you can go on and Google this subject and find most of this, but I don't understand how the back of a woman, a nude woman with a gorilla hat on, can be one of the most offensive pieces of art of our 2 decades. I'm confused. Don't get it at all. So, you know, in response to that, they purchased bus, you know, advertising, and they posted these posters all over New York City, and they went out at night and to like be anonymity, have their anonymity protected. They wore the gorilla masks, and put up posters all over the city. So, you know, they're just trying to be, speak a voice for women, you know, and the poster was pitched to the Public Art Fund, and that's who rejected it. And, you know, that's what created them to begin this group, you know, or continue this group and broaden it. And so now they just had a show that ended in March. And this one focused on, it's called, by a group by Guardian. They conducted this research of up to 400 museum directors, and that's where this came from. And this was done in Europe. And the show was called, Is It Even Worse in Europe? And they haven't really provided the numbers on that yet, but the show culminated. And, you know, this group also has been looking into the fact that all over the world, male artists are much more highly represented. Although a lot of ethnicities are not represented equally. You know, and so my question to all of you is then, what does that mean? Does it mean the male gender population of Europe and America are more talented than everyone else? Does it mean women aren't as talented, or blacks or Hispanics, etc.? What does that say to society? You know, we talk all the time on here about art and society, that they reflect one another. We're in a generation and a decade where women are not only, you know, in offices, and had a woman run for president. I mean, we're in an age where women are out there earning sometimes more than half the family income. And I know women who earn all the family income. And, you know, we're smart, we're viable, we're, you know, moving ahead in society. And this is not a true reflection. These numbers in the museums are not a true reflection of our society. So it's a really important subject. It's not fair, you know, as here we are, 2017, and we have 13 modern female artists next to 169 male contemporary artists. You know, why? And so, you know, do you think men are more talented? Is that why this is happening? You know, it's just kind of mind-boggling to me. So it's something I'm definitely going to be following, and also, you know, working on assisting and bringing awareness out that, you know, we need to consider women's art as just art. It's not women's or men's. It just should be art. But when you do a study and you find out the museums are extremely heavily male oriented, you know, you do have to ask yourself why. And not just male, but like I said, although different ethnicities are not represented as strongly, you know, American and European art kind of are running the market in the art world. So why? You know, let's work on that, because I plan on my humble dreams, you know, if they ever come to pass, you know, I'll be very happy. And I don't want it to be not possible because I was born a woman. You know, that just isn't right. It's not what our century and our society is about. So, be aware of it. And when you go to a museum, read the names of the artists, see how many females you find. It's quite shocking. Here in Chattanooga, museums and where I've lived in other cities, very few female artists, even in, of course, older decades, previous decades, but still today, why? So let's, kind of outcry about that a little bit. Like, let's be fair. Let's just look at the piece. Just ignore the name. Look at the art. What does that represent? Is that valuable? And if you think that the men are actually better, I want to hear from you. Like, oh, well, they're actually more talented. Let's talk about that. Let me know why you think that. So you can always call in 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949. Jillian Collins. This is the Art Beat of Chattanooga, and we're talking about the 10 most controversial things that were deemed of the last 2 centuries by, the different organizations and things that go over and look at museums, look at how society reacts to art. And, this is all history. This is, current history, basically, last 2 decades. So Europe, same thing, like I said. So, is this our museums today? Are they presenting a diverse history of contemporary art, or is this a money-driven vehicle? What's going on here? So that's, I guess, what I'm asking myself and you. So the next one we'll move on is Robert Mapplethorpe, and very controversial. He's a photographer, and in 1989 he passed away, and just a few months after that he was scheduled to do a show. He passed away from AIDS, and he was scheduled to do a show in the Cochrane Gallery in DC. The show was Sexually Explicit Nature of Photographs, which featured sadomasochism, homosexuality, and basically drew the wrath of Capitol Hill big time. In a misguided attempt to avoid the controversy, the exhibition was canceled due to the culture wars that were produced by it, and going on in the world at the time. 1989, this wasn't so accepted in that society. It's not that long ago, and yet you think about blatant images, photographs of homosexual art, not so accepted in 1989. So it really created a big stir. In protest, Mapplethorpe's followers, on the day that he was scheduled to have his show in remembrance of him, and the people who loved him and did appreciate his work. And I've not seen his work. I'm just not going to look at every single one, because some things I just have a personal reason not to look at it, or it's not time for me to look at it, because I am an artist too, and I'm also an emotional person. So I make my own choices of what I see. But I can just explain and still report on what went on here. And his followers congregated at the gallery, the Cochrane Gallery, and protested by showing huge slides of his work on the side of the building. So they didn't really avoid having his work presented. It was actually a much more public and larger presentation of his work than had they gone ahead with the actual show. But as I said, society at that time I don't think was ready, and like I said, I don't even know what the actual images look like, and I definitely will probably look at them some point, but I kind of want to be a little bit more just talking about what they did, and why they were decided the most, offensive, other than necessarily delving into the depth of what they did right now. So, so they did a tribute to him, and, that kind of backfired. So honestly, a lot of this next one, some of this is very uncomfortable for me. I'm not going to state my religious beliefs or anything like that, but a lot of these controversial pieces circle around Christianity. And I think what Christians would consider defacing and defiling their beliefs, their images of their beliefs. So this next one is kind of that way. So to me, it's, I don't understand it. Okay. That's all I can say. Andre Serrano, and his piece was called Piss Christ, and it was in 1987. And for over 2 decades, Andre Serrano's piece has been polarizing subject matter for the viewers in the places that it's been. And it's a photograph of a plastic crucifix submerged in a cup of the artist's urine. I mean, I don't know how you think of this, and he says that it wasn't really like a religious statement at first, but then at the end, he says it was a statement he said he wasn't trying to really make a statement at the time, but he says, I would say this piece is a reflection of my work, not only as an artist, but as a Christian. And I have no idea what he meant by that, but it has been extremely controversial. And in 2011 in Avignon, France, the fundamentalists attempted to destroy the photograph with hammers. They were angry. They didn't want it around. And of course, to them, I'm sure it feels like violation of their beliefs. And, any religious belief and figure in most cultures is considered holy. And by the cultures, how do you define holy? But, so this was, again, he says he didn't do it as a religious statement, but it's pretty odd. And I did see this piece and I wouldn't have known what it was if I didn't read about it. I would have just thought, okay, that's interesting. Because I didn't know what it was, just at first looking at it. But it doesn't look offensive, but a lot of people feel that it is offensive by the, nature of what was done. So another one is Richard Serra and titled Ark in 1981. And I personally don't really get this one, like why it was maybe offensive, because it was 120 foot long, 12 foot high bend of core 10 steel. And it was in the center of, a pedestrian way at New York Federal Plaza, right in the center of it, kind of dividing it. And the public basically thought it was a nuisance. They thought it was blocking their passageway. They didn't like it. And Richard Serra had planned on this piece being it was put in as a permanent installation, but the public disliked it so much that they removed it. And I guess offensive takes a new turn right here. Why was it offensive? Not because it was considered to violate a belief system or reflect pornography or, be cruel to animals, or it was simply in their way. It's a giant thing. You couldn't walk through it, and it probably caused congestion in the plaza from what it sounds like. I wouldn't be happy if my artwork was called an annoying obstruction. It's probably not what he intended. And he makes a very odd statement. This whole one to me is kind of like surreal. Like, how does this fit? I don't think it's the function of art to be pleasing. He commented at the time. Art is not democratic. It is not for the people. And I agree with that. If you're doing it in your home or someone, chooses to put your work in a gallery. But if you put a piece in the middle of a city and the city dislikes it so much that they want it removed, I have to disagree that then it is for the people. If the people dislike it, then, as a whole, as a community, I think you should have the choice, if it's a majority and they don't want it there, it's literally causing physical obstruction. They decided afterwards, maybe this wasn't a good idea. I believe in society, we have the right to decide, well, you know what, this isn't what we want now that it's here. As sad as it may be for an artist, I disagree with that statement. I think art is for the people. I do mine for me, but most artists want their work shared. We are trying to communicate to the rest of the world, all the things that go on inside of us in our minds and our hearts and emotions. And if people just feel annoyed as an artist, why would you want that? Move on, create another piece. Like the Calder downtown Grand Rapids, it's a giant orange metal structure. And I grew up there, and but I have pictures of me as a kid. The thing is, tall as a building. And, but the thing about it didn't obstruct your movement. You could go through it and under it and had a lot of play areas in there, so to speak. It's giant arcs, but, you could still pass through and under the sculpture. So, revamp, if it's going to be for the public place, that's something interesting to think about. So, and the last one, because I'm running out of time, is Marcel Duchamp, and his was called The Fountain. And this was 1917, and it kind of cracks me up. Because basically he took a urinal and turned it upside down, a porcelain urinal. He turned it upside down and put it on its back and called it The Fountain. And he submitted it under a pseudonym, R. Mutt, to the Society of Independent Artists. And it was promptly excluded from the Society's inaugural exhibition. So he resigned in protest, even though he was ashamed to put his name on it when he submitted it, apparently. And in 1964, then known as the producer of the work, was quoted, in Paris is saying, I was drawing people's attention to the fact that art is a mirage. Exactly as a mirage appears in the desert, it's very beautiful until, of course, you are dying of thirst. But you don't die in the field of art. Mirage is solid. And I just find it funny, like, to use the, the instance of a mirage and thirst with a urinal as the piece. I mean, really? Because, water comes through there. And sure, if you're starving for water and food in the desert, and you might drink out of something like that, but, as an artist, I try not to judge pieces that are not harmful to a being or another creature or emotionally intended to hurt a specific group of people. I don't understand the urinal piece exactly. Maybe I'm not, intelligent enough, or because I'm a woman, I'm not a man. So my art's not as good apparently, but, I don't really get the urinal piece, but I still think, it's in the top 10 of the most offensive. So there's a reason people did not like this. At the time in 1917, he created this. I mean, really, that's pretty controversial right there. So, the fountain, so kind of the overview here is most of the things that are considered the most controversial pieces of the last 2 decades kind of relate to the base parts of life. The women, definitely, because the picture that is excluded is absolutely, you see pictures in galleries showing much more of a woman's body. So, and then of course the high percent in galleries, the percentage of women in artwork as far as hanging is like the same percentage, 85% or so, as the number of men who are exhibited in the contemporary galleries. So the images are there, but the actual female artists haven't been placed into those contemporary museum positions as much. And, why? Do you think men are smarter or better artists? I just really wonder. As a woman, it's kind of shocking for me in this century, in 2017, that I may be discriminated against as an artist because I'm a woman. Wow. So I hope that's something we can change really, really quickly, as well as also bringing all different countries and cultures of art into the museums, not focusing just on American and European art. The entire world does art. Every culture has music, art, dance, they write. There's no limit to the arts going on in this world. So equality here, don't rule me out because I'm a woman artist. It's just, I don't get it. So, thanks for letting me get some things off my chest today, talking a little bit different than usual, but I love you guys and I love Chattanooga. So thanks for listening to the Art Beat of Chattanooga. This is Jill Ann Collins on 92.7 FM, 1240 AM, and I'll see you next week.